Hey folks, it's Tourism Tim Warren here with TravelBusinessSuccess.com. And we're here with part two of a tourism marketing TV interview on Google, how to help your ranking, and specifically using the Google penalty checker to work on and to know where you stand with Google. And we're going to look at some specific tips on how you can make some changes and some improvements. And I've got Brad Anderson with Fruition back with us today. Thank you, Brad.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Tim.
I really appreciated the overview and the tips that you gave in the first part of this interview to kind of help people understand the connection between social and trust and establishing trust and how that directly influences ranking. And it was great to see. And no surprise, a synergy between trust and how it impacts ranking. And trust, as I've always talked about it, and on a purchasing decision for a travel shopper. So it's a perfect storm. And if you work in the right direction, it's really going to help you. So that's exciting.
That is. You're absolutely right.
That is exciting. So what we're going to do, Brad, we're just going to jump right into going to the Fruition's Google penalty checker, and we're going to continue to use my site as an example of what can happen, and we're going to look at some of the specific tips that you're recommending so that people can start moving back through that. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Okay, so we're back, folks, and here we are at the Fruition Internet Marketing Expertise and the Google Penalty Checker. And by the way, folks, in the show notes, I will have links to Brad's site and the Google Penalty Checker so that you can go there yourself and utilize the free version. And if you want to upgrade to their paid version, you can see those options too. But we're going to look at my site. And Brad, prior to this interview, we had some dialogue via email about Panda and Penguin, and really starting to understand this tool. And I had some questions. Okay, this is really cool. I understand how it has impacted my site. Now, what can I do about it? I'm kind of a do-it-yourself sort of guy, and I also work with experts like yourself. But I find that for me to best work with an expert like yourself, it's really helpful for me to understand what we're doing, and why, and what is my role in helping move the train down the track in the right direction.
That's exactly right. And luckily with the penalty checker, you can visualize it and get an idea of what you're doing right really quick. Within 5 minutes of getting into the penalty checker and having your site set up, you should have a good idea of if you're impacted by Penguin or Panda, and then which update hit you and which ones you did well at. And from there, you can start narrowing down a real detailed action plan on what has to happen to get your rankings back up or above where they were before.
Great. Well, let's jump in. You had mentioned we're referencing Panda and Penguin, and we're going to use that, but I'm going to revisit the Hummingbird thing. Do you feel that getting the Panda and the Penguin, turning, improving the challenges from that are more foundational than Hummingbird? How do they fit together? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, to really simplify it, you can do all of the updates into two categories. The Penguin are just off-site updates, and Panda are all on-site updates. So Hummingbird really falls into, there's definitely a Panda component of it because it did impact certain sites of certain qualities and of the number of pages they have on their site. But then there's a lot of organizational issues. So to make it a little more complex, we really need a third category of Google updates, and that would include part of Hummingbird, which is just the Google organizational updates. We saw that in the past with G Plus being integrated, Google Plus that is, being integrated with search results, with the changes on local and maps and all these different types of just how the organic results are laid out.
That sounds good. Well, let's jump right into looking at travel business success, and you had mentioned if it was Panda, what you should do, and if it was Penguin, what you should do. So why don't we start off with Panda? And what are you noticing on my site with travelbusinesssuccess.com? Where is this? Because there's multiple Panda updates that I could find. Where do we start?
I always start at the biggest. Which one impacted you the most? Let's get the biggest bang for the buck on the work when we put into it. And you were definitely impacted by the December 14th, 2012 Panda update. And not not surprisingly, a lot of WordPress websites that had fairly generic themes were impacted by this. And it's hard to say if it had something to do with WordPress specifically, or if Google was targeting the themes or specific designs, or it's just that there's so many websites that are designed and built kind of in the same way and the same design, just made it more likely that these websites would be impacted. But with that, we know where we can start. And that Panda update, we've had a lot of success of getting websites to recover and really go above and beyond what their traffic was before by doing redesigns. So you have to think about a website design and redesign as part of SEO. And then you start thinking about what your users want. And the usability is part of SEO now. So as you're developing your action plan to recover from a specific update, in particular Panda update, you have to consider the usability and, again, page speed that we haven't talked about yet, but it's well known that that impacts your rankings as well.
Hmm. Now, on redesign, so we're not necessarily talking about the look or that, but really what you said was the usability is how easily people can find the information they're looking for. On my site, could it be the categories are not correct, or I have a lot of content, and I want to just reiterate what we were talking about on the previous episode of Tourism Marketing TV, is that the integrating of Google Plus, social sharing sites, getting your audience engaged, having regular updated content. This is what's a little confusing and shocking for me, because I've been doing all of those things, but clearly something's still missing. So usability, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, you're looking at, I like looking at bounce back to search a lot. So if someone goes to Google and they search for travel business success and they click on your website and they bounce right back to the search results right away and then go somewhere else, that's a huge signal to Google that your site is not relevant to what that person was searching for. And if you get enough people bouncing back to search, your site will disappear from the rankings. And this has been a negative SEO trick that people have been using, unfortunately, and we've caught it on a few of our client sites. And it's clear when you're getting these huge bounces from really unreliable IP addresses and the Tor networks and all these different things. These are things you have to look out for if you have real aggressive competitors out there.
Ooh, they're actually purposely going and bouncing out of a site to up the bounce rate.
And it's a lot harder to detect than other negative SEO things, such as using really bad anchor text pointing to your site. That was done for a little bit, and it's really easy to detect, and you could disavow it and let Google know, and it won't happen. It won't hurt your site if you catch it, and it's pretty easy to catch. But the bounce back to search is, you have to have a pretty sharp eye and really understand what's going on with it to prevent that.
Is there a bounce rate, a target bounce rate that you recommend for your clients to be under, or a range that's because nobody's got a perfect site. What is that range?
It's better than your competitors. That's the benchmark.
Interesting.
Yeah, every industry is a little bit different, and an e-commerce site, it might be 20-30% because people are clicking on something right away. A site where you're selling just like a one-page lander on something, it might be 50%. Mm-hmm. But if your bounce rate is better than your competitors, that's one little advantage you have over them, and it will impact your rankings in a positive way.
Where would people find what their competitors' bounce rates are?
It's tough. You have to have a pretty high traffic levels to have a good estimate. Compete.com has pretty good estimates. I believe Alexa has some in there. But Compete.com, I believe, has the best database of that info.
Let's go back to the usability and the redesign aspect. You haven't had a chance to look at my site yet, but the what from a user standpoint, are there some keys that you recommend as far as helping with that aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing we have to take a step back and say, well, how are people getting to your site and what kind of devices are they using? We'd be kind of remiss if we didn't talk about mobile.
Yeah.
And mobile users now are, a lot of times over 50% of users. So when we talk about web design now, we talk mobile first. And you have to, responsive is great, for most websites. So responsive design is a design that scales based upon the device you have. So it doesn't have to reload, and you don't need different themes for different devices. So you have one site to worry about. So if you design mobile first, you typically are taking care of a lot of your design problems because you're simplifying. You're knocking out things that you don't need and you don't want. So that's the first place to start.
So design for mobile first for simplicity, and then you can have your responsive design, and then your desktop design,
right,
going hand in hand. Interesting. Yeah, well, I know that I've looked at I have access to a lot of analytic accounts for clients, and especially in the higher end adventure travel space, mobile is it could be easily 50% of the traffic, and folks, that's the next big frontier we're going to be talking about. Not today, but that's everybody's got to do this because that's what our users want. Different topic though. Coming back to this. What other recommendations relative to this Panda December 14th? So we talked about usability, page speed, mobile. Any other key tips?
Those are the big ones. We've had a couple of clients they've come to us after that Panda update, and the way we've brought their traffic back from those 20, 30, 40% drops was a complete redesign that was responsive, that addressed the mobile bounce rate. So, that's one way to recover from that particular Panda update.
Wow. Now, you had mentioned earlier that when you look at the penalty checker tool and to evaluate, was it Panda that hurt you worse or was it Penguin? And let's look at the difference between the two and where people would find Penguin, and if that was a problem, what are some of the things that they should be doing?
Yeah, so Penguin 1 was the first big link building offsite update that Google rolled out, and it impacted a significant number of sites. Now, luckily, it's well known now how you recover from Penguin 1, and we saw that when Penguin 2 rolled out. Now, Penguin 2, which we will find on your site here, it's May 23rd, 2013.
Okay, I got it. 2013. Okay, I'm in the wrong year. Let me pop over here. Oh, okay, there's Penguin 2.
So your website was negatively impacted, and it's actually the opposite of what we've seen from most of the websites that have signed up for the Google Penalty Checker. And the reason is a lot of people went in, and they disavowed links. So you can go to Google and say, hey, I have these low quality links that I don't want counted toward my backlinks. And when Penguin 2 rolled out, all these people that disavowed their links and cleaned up their anchor text, they actually improved. So Penguin 2, we actually saw about 20% of the websites that have signed up for the Google Penalty Checker actually saw improvements in traffic. So this is showing that people that were practicing proper SEO know what they're doing. They're in the know. They did the right steps, and they improved their website's traffic.
For some people who don't understand the concept of disavowing links, and maybe you can talk about just really briefly about that what we're talking the inbound links and quality and you guys, isn't it trust? What's the term you guys use? It's trust factor in the links.
Yeah, so a backlink is just any link from a third-party website linking to your website. So you have a link with anchor text. So the anchor text is a text you click on to go to your website from that third-party website. And if you're on a bunch of really low-quality websites, so websites about gambling, about adult activities, things that are just completely unrelated to your website, these are seen as negative. So they're actually pulling your website down. And it's just considered web spam. And Google calls it web spam to differentiate it from email spam. That's really all it is. It's just kind of junk out there that's taking up space online.
What about paid directories? Because that was really popular years ago, and especially in the travel space.
Yeah, it really was. And Google's flat out said that any sort of paid listing has to have a no follow link. So you can no follow a link, and that tells Google that, hey, this link should not count toward my update or toward my ranking in Google's organic results.
And is the no follow link something that the owner of the travel company would add on their site, or ask the directory to put on their site?
They need to ask the directory to put it on their website.
So what if you've got some crappy links out there that you didn't ask for, but they're pointed at your site? What's isn't there a multi-step procedure before you should be actually asking Google to disavow a link or to not count it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you just go and you disavow all your links, then you just have pretty much a virgin website without anything on it. Without any backlinks, and you're never going to rank for anything. So we've seen this a lot where people have disavowed too many links, and it has actually impacted negatively their organic results. So it's very, very tough if you have thousands and tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of backlinks, you have to really know what you're doing to look for and isolate these really bad backlinks. And unfortunately, there is not a really good tool out there that does it. We've tried them all, and we've found that they either go too far or they don't go far enough. So you still have to manually really look at these and understand what Google's looking for and what they don't want to see before you go and you disavow a link with Google.
What's the name of that really cool tool that shows on a graph the quality of an inbound link, whether it's trusted or not? I forget what it's called.
There's a bunch of backlinking services. Majestic SEO
that's the one.
tends to have really, I think, the best results overall.
Is disavowing now? Shouldn't you go to, if someone's got a link pointed at your site? Let's assume you're the tour operator in Tanzania, or you're a lodge in Alaska. You've got some crappy links you found using Majestic SEO. What do you find is the best protocol? Shouldn't you reach out to the owner of that site and say, "Hey, you've got a link at my site. I really appreciate it if you disconnect it." What's the best protocol to do that?
Well, often if it's a real low quality link, it's a spammy site that was automatically generated, and you're never going to be able to get a hold of anyone.
Okay.
So, we've tried it. We've tried sending out really millions of emails to owners, and these are just really automated websites that are generating the web spam.
So at the end of the day, just jump right into, if you find it's one of those really poor sites, just jump right into the disavow tool, which is in the Google Webmaster section.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's right.
And is there any problem with just jumping in and disavowing selectively a whole bunch of links? Is that a problem at all as far as Google?
As long as you're disavowing the bad links, it's not a problem.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Someone had told me, oh, no, that's the last thing you want to do. You want to use it sparingly, and I read that somewhere, and so I'm glad to hear that. I was nervous to use it.
Yeah, no, I mean, when it came out, the SEO world just sort of rolled their eyes, like, we're not going to play this game, Google. But, we've seen that it does work, and Google's sort of holding true to their word, and if you do it right, it works.
Cool. Let's get back to the Penguin 2.0. I've got that highlighted here, and it's just, I look at these big orangish and red circles below the line. I cringed. I've got this other site, Adventure Biz Success, but we're going to focus. I was actually surprised this site, Travel Business Success, which is the WordPress blog, which is updated regularly, which hasn't been around but maybe 6 or 7 years. My other one's been around, gosh, 12 or 13 years, that this one was actually more negatively impacted. What are some other specific steps if you find yourself with a negative Penguin, a Penguin 2.0, a negative impact?
With Penguin 2.0, a lot of it came down to just the quality of your inbound links. So sites are still ranking really well that have just a few real high quality references to their site. And these are sites like, in our world, it's TechCrunch and New York Times, and anything with a lot of trust factor. Those are the websites, the links coming from those sites to your site. Those are the guys that are doing the best.
I noticed I used Majestic SEO not that long ago and was analyzing some of the links, and it appeared that any link coming from a academic institution or a government institution seemed to have understandably had a high trust factor, and was really looked really nicely. So is that true? Should someone pursue links with let's say their government tourism agency, or if you've had an award from the tourism board, or if you can place an article, a resource article on their site? Those would all be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you got it. You just listed out great resources for tourism websites to get links from. The local tourism boards and Chamber of Commerce's and those things, and wherever you're trying to get people to book their trips for, those are great resources, and they're very valuable links. And the reason they're valuable is because they're not as easy to get. They're monitored by a real person, and they're selective on what kind of companies and businesses they put up there. So those are the ones that are more valuable.
Speaking of placing links, now we're talking about actively seeking out high quality, trustworthy links and good sources. Have you seen the recent television commercials that just started coming out on TripAdvisor? Are you familiar with TripAdvisor?
I am familiar with TripAdvisor. I have not seen the commercials.
They've just now jumped into that arena. They're doing a $30 million spend. They're going head-to-head with Hotels.com. They have become a juggernaut. They've become the Google of travel shoppers and purchase decisions. So I've been working actively to helping people move their ranking up and their quality reviews up. Now, there are some forums in there. There are some places where you can get involved with a forum conversation. There are actually some places where you can post articles, all resource oriented. They are moderated, and they're pretty picky. But my question is, if you could get an article with a link or two pointed back at your site in something like TripAdvisor, which has tens of millions of visitors a month, would that be a really good thing from a link quality standpoint?
It would be a great thing. Anywhere where you can get a link that sends real visitors and you get it out of something that you provide to another site, information or guides or books or whatever it might be, that's an excellent link.
So would Google be looking at because I was analyzing analytics of one of my clients in Thailand yesterday, and her traffic has really fallen off, but it's really cool when you look at source of traffic, there goes my timer, that traffic from TripAdvisor, the US version, and its various different locations, the quality of that traffic as far as duration and page views was at least 300% better than anything else, and now it had come up to the fourth highest source of traffic. So I went, wow, because I know the quality of that traffic rocks, and that's what converts. Would Google be analyzing the duration or the page views and analyzing as far as its influence on trust and the social aspect we talked about earlier?
Absolutely. Yeah, they don't do it using Google Analytics, but they do it through the other means they have. Having the Chrome browser, the Google toolbar, these different things where they can get the data, it goes back to usability, and that is part of the trust factor.
Brad, well, this is awesome. We have to wrap up here soon, but maybe a couple closing aspects and quick tips that you have about SEO for tourism professionals that people should be thinking about as they're analyzing, using your tool, utilizing the resource we talked about? What would you advise people that, where do I start, and really what should be my focus?
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it's a summary of everything we talked about today. So having a really high quality site that is mobile first, getting really good links from good sources, and realizing that Google's not the only game on the block anymore. TripAdvisor and these other guys, you can generate a lot of traffic from those, and those will impact your Google rankings. So don't be so focused just on Google. If you start thinking about your business as a whole, your organic rankings will actually come up based upon that work.
Awesome. It's nice how it all goes back together, and I'm looking at my notes here. And can you reiterate about the social, what you put down? Social.
Yeah, you just can't ignore social because it's a trust factor, and you will get good sales out of social. Pinterest and Instagram are great sources for the tourism industry. Twitter, maybe not. Facebook, definitely. So you have to really focus on where your potential clients are, where your existing clients are, and connect those via your social circles.
Mm-hmm. And have you had travel or tourism or hospitality clients that are utilizing Pinterest and some of these other social media channels successfully?
Absolutely. Facebook has been very successful in the tourism industry, and it's still much cheaper than Google AdWords is right now. So Facebook just rolled out a good update probably about 2 months ago now, and you can really target the people you're going after, and great demographic information. And you can even upload your existing customers, and they can spit out your recommendations on who your potential customers are based on your existing customers. So
nice.
It's an exciting time in the internet marketing world, and there's a lot of options for tourism websites.
Cool. And besides being the kings of SEO, so you guys also do pay-per-click advertising both in Google, Facebook, and other channels as well?
Absolutely, yeah. Google's still the biggest game in the AdWords world, but there's a ton of fraud in that space, so it's tough. Facebook is gaining. They're doing some really good things. Twitter's there for the big guys. You have to be a really huge brand to get the reach you need. And Pinterest and Instagram they're coming with their ad campaigns and platforms.
Very good, Brad. You've shared just great stuff today. How would people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your services and what you guys do?
Yeah, just check out fruition.net and sign up for the penalty checker, and then let us know what you think.
Great. Brad, really appreciate your time, really appreciate your help. And I look forward to, I think I could see you got my brain thinking about, Facebook advertising and for tourism. And I totally agree about the friends and the connection and finding other targeted people. So that meant another interview for another time.
Great. Thanks for your time.
Take care. Bye-bye.